we've been traveling with a 6-month-old kid, visiting some family, so I've been out of the loop a little bit. I'll be back in mid-January and really get down to business. But one thing I wanted to talk about, which I think you'll get value out of even if you're not a tennis player, is the competitive tennis situation I had a couple days ago. So I was with my dad in this doubles league, and I joined his team just for a few matches before I go back home. And we end up playing this guy who was a self-rated player, which means he's probably a little bit better than he said he was, and he kind of rated himself down a division. But that's not really the point. The point is more he had just an absurdly good forehand. It had so much spin and so much direction on it that it took over the whole court. And so with doubles, you have 4 people on the court. But I'm going to relate this to trading in a second and what I really picked up from it. And this thing was such a weapon that we felt like eventually we lost the first set. So in the second set, we felt like we needed to get this ball away from this guy's forehand. So we're trying to force it to his backhand. And we did that a few times, but the guy was so good at footwork of running around his backhand to hit a forehand and still be good. And his partner, who wasn't that great of a player, was consistent, but he just wasn't much. You could overpower him. But what ended up happening, we lost the match. We ended up having to hit a lot of balls to his partner, who was able to feel like the hero and hit some easy winners, because this guy's one shot was so good, and he was able to run around it and control the court so much with one shot. And, at a higher level, that's not possible if you're a pro or you're really skilled. You have to have everything going for you. Because, of course, we all want to be good at everything, and we want to have a well-rounded trading game in tennis or whatever you're doing. And I'm always looking to improve everything I can do. But I think this example, I walked away with it really pointing to the importance of knowing where you're good and hammering that edge. And that could be trading. We've talked with some friends about trading earnings winners and not getting caught up in technical setups, or not getting caught up in, macro trades and stories about why Apple is overvalued and stuff like that, Tesla and things like that. Everyone's looking at the same thing. How are you going to make money on that? And I do a lot of these stupid news trades, which I think is a good niche. So I need to spend more time on those. That's one of my things for this year that I'm going to do. And you can develop other strategies, but really hammering those strategies. So back to tennis. So I have a pretty good forehand as well, but I thought, whoa, my forehand's pretty good. So I'm going to work on my volleys and my backhand. I'm going to kind of get everything up to a higher level and be fairly well-rounded, which I eventually will always want to do. But it's making me think that if I can really get good at those 2 strokes, maybe the serve and the forehand, I'm a lot tougher to beat, because people have to just plain old not hit to those shots, which is very hard to do because the forehand covers most of the court. And it creates opportunities elsewhere, and then their game starts to break down. So I can pull that right back into trading too and look at it and say, well, I notice when I'm bored, or not even bored, that's not the way I want to say it. Like when I'm distracted, like right now I don't get to work quite as many hours, or I'm just feeling a little bit like my energy is pulled different ways because I'm not in my normal environment. So I miss some stuff, or I miss a trade, and then there's a little anxiety, and then I feel like I want to put another trade on, and then all of a sudden I look at my books and I'm thinking, well, I have a few more trades on than I would like right now. I should be calming down and just letting it come. Why am I doing that? And it's a reaction to feeling a little bit destabilized. And when I'm home in my environment and I'm locked in, I don't do that as much. And it's just a constant reminder to keep, we all have these unique things that we feel we're good at. And a lot of times the reason we're good at them is because we really enjoy doing them. So if you really like doing something, that's an area where you're going to get an edge in the market, because you're going to study it and learn it and get very sound at it. And that niche is something you can continue to exploit. And I think it's definitely possible. And most traders do find a second and a third strategy. So you don't have to have just one strategy. But I think really starting with one strategy and getting good at it is very important. And then from there, you dabble out with smaller size and you try things and you make a second strategy. And it's, as I'm building my tennis game up, it's very similar actually. And another tennis-related comparison would be when you warm up. So I go hit around and warm up with my dad or a friend. And a lot of times I notice in warm-up we're trying to hit a really good shot or hit a winner. We hit 5-6 balls, and then someone tries to hit a winner in the warm-up just for the hell of it, and it's out of bounds. And then, the rally doesn't go that long because everyone's trying to really perfect that great shot. The reality is that unless you're a pro, most of the points you win are going to be errors by the other player. So if you just keep the damn thing on the court, you're probably going to win. So you don't need to go for that big shot. You just need to keep stacking those good shots up and make those good shots a little bit better and a little bit deeper. And all of a sudden, the errors start piling up on the other side. And some people think, well, I'm just not that kind of, I'm a power player. I'm a consistent player. I think it's a mentality. It's really that you go in and you think that way. Like, this is the way I'm going to play. You don't have to play. Of course, you want to use your power when somebody hits you a shorter ball and you can put it away. And that's fine. And I think it goes back to trading too, where you're looking at the market and it gets exciting. It's earnings season. There's a flood of activity. You're seeing people on social media. You wanna get moving. It's the beginning of the year. You're antsy, and all of a sudden your activity goes up. And when that happens, stuff slides through the cracks. And you're reviewing your stuff later at the end of the quarter, or whenever you want to review 6 months, and you're just thinking, why am I in these trades? This is not part of my plan. How did this get through the crack? Or it's very marginal. And those are the little errors that you're making, little unforced errors. And I think if you can recognize your energy and when it's pulled, and I've talked about this before, but spending some time understanding where you're going to struggle, what's your disaster setup, family in town, or lots of inactivity, or the big one is, of course, a big winning streak, and then you eventually have a losing streak after. That's pretty nasty. I don't want to get too off topic on that stuff now. We'll go into that later. We always talk about those things because they never go away. Every trader for the end of time will struggle with giving back money after a good winning streak. Because psychologically, you're just primed to do so. So the tennis thing, the two takeaways here are really get good at your strengths. I think that especially at an amateur level, at least in tennis, that's a really important thing. And the other thing is, and that's a trading related analogy, with hammering your niche, just master every nook and cranny of that niche, and define very deeply what ones are good, which ones are average, score them if you want, 1 to 10, A through F, whatever you want to do, make a system, grade yourself, however you need to just master that little niche and get really good at it. And the second thing is practice how you play. So I'm going to start counting. There's that Japanese subway tactic, at point and call or whatever, point and shoot or whatever they call it, where they point and say what they're doing. And that way there's less mistakes that are made, because you say doors opening, you point to the door and everyone recognizes the doors are opening, and they're less apt to fall out the subway or whatever's going on. So when I play tennis, what I've been doing is saying 1, 2, 3 as we rally, as the ball goes over. And when you start counting immediately, we go from having 5 or 6 balls in a row to 20 or 30 or 40, which is just crazy. Just the idea that we're recognizing that it's important to keep the ball in play. So I'm trying to move that into my trading as well. I don't quite exactly know how I'm doing that right now, but I'm consciously thinking about how precious those opportunities are and how I'm going to really treat them that way. And it doesn't mean I'm waiting for the stars to line up and I'm not going to take trades. I'm always going to take trades. I would rather take trades that I think are what I want to do, have them not work out, obey my risk, and then figure it out later, than to not take trades again and again and then never learn. And it's okay to take a responsible loser and then decide that it's going to push you in a different way. I think that's part of learning. That's definitely a good thing to do. I've seen a lot of people who don't want to take risk, and then you get frozen. But I think you rotate in and out of those mentalities too, depending on if you're in a big drawdown or whatever else. But I'm just going to leave it there for now. So I will get back on probably in mid-January, and I'm going to go over some of the stuff I've been doing early this year and do a little review on that.